The 5am Club by Robin Sharma. Own your morning, elevate your life. Chapter 12. The 5am Club discovers the habit installation protocol. I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. Muhammad Ali. The next morning lesson was scheduled to be on how the most productive leaders and performers on the planet install the habit that make them superstars and live fascinating, adventurous and purposeful lives. In reply to Mr. Rally's request, both the entrepreneur and the artist had arranged to extend their time away. They understood the profound value of the training they were being exposed to, and they knew their smartest move was to embrace it fully. Hi cats, shouted the billionaires, running up to his companions as the Indian sun rose timidly against the horizon that was at once barren and electrifying. It was precisely 5 am. The tycoon wore a black Nehru collar, collared shirt, cargo short, and black sandals. He was smilingly broadly. He still glowed from the sunshine of Mauritius, and today he wore a turban. This morning, I will be walking you through the spellbinders insights on installing the peak performance regimes that will help you activate your greatness in a business and in life. As I shared with you in an early lesson, what makes the best is not their genetic but their habits, and not the extent of their gifts but the strength of their grit. Today's lesson will walk you through what the science and research tell us we must do to let go of the behavior that weakens us and to code in the ones that will serve us. What greets? Asked the entrepreneur, paying attention to every word of the billionaire spoke. Today, she had her hair in ponytail and simple shoes on her feet. It are terms popularized by the social psychologist Angela Duckworth, who studied elite performers in the field of business, education, and the military and sports. She found that what makes the most successful achievers so great isn't their inherent talent but their level of commitment, discipline, resilience, and perseverance. Grit is her word of describe these traits. Cool, brother, said the artist. That inspires me not to give up on a painting when I hit a wall of self doubt, or when I get frustrated by my lack of progress, or when I get scared other in my field will laugh because I am producing art that is fresh and original instead of copied and derivative. Good, responded the billionaire as he rubbed his muscular abs. Albert Einstein wrote great spirits have always encountered violent oppositions from the mediocre minds, and mediocre minds is incapable of understanding the man who refuses to bow blindly to conventional prejudices and tries instead that express his opinion courageously and honestly. Love that, spoke the artist exuberantly, displaying an expression that showed his growing pride in trusting his personal visions when it came to his craft. Anywho, let's go let's back on track and keep jamming on the most potent ways to install world class habits that last versus ones that dissolve after a few weeks of trying to make them sick. Of course, this morning mentoring class is absolutely essential for you too, because even though you guys are up at 5 a.m. Delhi now, we went to discipline to become a lifetime routine. Oh, and and an essential part of the world-class habit installation involves learning how the pros builds remarkable self-control and unleash rare air amounts of willpower. So we should start there. The three companions were standing in front of the Taj Mahal. They were alone. The structure was unspeakable, sublime as they stared at it. The genuine testimony to the rewards of architectural and engineering mastery. I love India so much, declared the billionaire. One of the greatest nations on earth, and this piece will and this place, well, it's one of the seven wonders of the world for a reason. Breathtakingly beautiful, right? True, admitted the entrepreneur as he sipped some very hot coffee. The billionaire held a large water bottle in his left hand. It had a statements printed on it, as his water bottle often did, which he read his two students with gusto. The hero does not become great during periods of comfort. The illustrious and noble soul of our world became strong, brave, and moral, whilst standing resolutely in the storm of adversity, difficulty, and doubts. It is in moment that you face your deepest weakness that you receive the chance to forge your greatest strength. Real power then comes not from a life of ease but one of the intense effort, devoted discipline and demanding action in the direction of what your supreme self knows to be right. To continue at time when you ache to stop, to advance when you long to quit, to persist in the instant when you feel like giving up is to claim your membership among the great warriors and horrible characters who led humanity to a better place through their own invincibility. Wow, uttered the artist. Some great poet wrote that. No, mention the billionaire. Those words are all mine. Mr. Riley then raised a hand into the air. You know what happened? Out of early morning mist appeared an impassible dressed and very attractive aide. We are all so happy you are back in India, sir. We have missed you. She uttered, here, what you ask for. The billionaire bowed slightly and gave his assistant a friendly smile. A spectacular, ornate Phasminia shawl was handed to a titan who stretched it out in the light. As you know, Phasminia is a five type of wool from Kashmir. The term itself translates into soft gold in the Kashmiri language, and if you saw it, you'd agree it looked so. Detailed stitching had gone into the fabric, and as the two students focused more closely on it, they could see the 531 creed of the willpower warriors swan into the soul. Below this title was a series of statements that explained what the 531 meant. It was all quite unique. Here's what had handcrafted stitching said. The five scientific truths behind excellent habit. Truth 1. World class willpower isn't an inborn strength, but a skill developed through relentless practice. Getting up down, Getting up at down is a perfect self-control training. Truth 2. Personal discipline is a muscle. The more you stretch it, the stronger it grows. Through the summaries of self-regulation actively create condition of hardship to build their natural power. Truth 3. Like other muscles, willpower weakness when tired. Recovery is therefore absolutely necessary for the expression of mastery and to manage decision fatigue. Truth 4. Installing any great habit successfully follow a distinct four-part pattern for automation of the routine, followed explicitly for lasting results. Truth 5. Increasing self-control in one area of your life elevates self-control in all area of your life. This is why joining the 5 a.m. club is game-changing habit that will lift everything else that you do. The three value of the heroic habit makers. Value 1. Victory demands consistency and persistency. Value 3. Following through on what is started determines the size of the personal respect that will be generated. Value 3. The way you practice in a private is precisely the way you will perform once you are in a public. The one general theory of self discipline Spartans. They regularly do that which is hard but important when it feels most uncomfortable is how warriors are born. The billionaire closed his eyes and repeated his phrase. I don't wish for a easy life because there is no growth of my powers there. Give me a challenging life, one that bring out the finest in me. For this makes an iron will and an unconquerable character. This soul is my gift to you too. The industrialist went on. Please do study the five scientific truths and the three values along with one of the generalist theory that makes up the 5-3-1 creed of the willpower warrior. It will serve you brilliantly as you encode habits that endure. Within a few moments, an auto rickshaw sped up from an empty parking area off in the distance. Out, out came a smiling young man dressed smartly in a dark grey jacket, perfectly pressed trouser and polished brown shoes. Namaste Arjun, said the billionaire as he clapped his hands together. Hey boys, hey boss, was the warm reply of this assistant, though his words were casual. The way he articulated them demonstrated immense respect for his employer. You two know the story behind the Taj Mahal? The billionaire asked. The aide stood off to the side, looking ready to offer any help Mr. Raleigh required. Please tell us, the entrepreneur requested. She carried a single legal notepad with a simple black roller ball pen, or the billionaire's early talk of how the misuse of technology leads to the destruction of creativity and an extreme reductions in productivity was having a major impact on her today. She wore a bangles engraved with words, dreams doesn't come true while you are sleeping. Sure, it's a rad story, gushed the billionaire, reiterating to more of his California surfer slang. Like you, two sweethearts, the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan, who masterminded this marvel, was a very much in love. As a symbol of his devotion to and adoration of his wife Mumtaz after her death in 1631, he committed himself to construct of the monument the likes of which the world had never seen. One so extravagantly sensational, staggeringly inspirational and structural exceptions that all onlookers would understand the depth of this man's affections as they experienced all its splendor. It does something to my heart when I look at it, murmured the artist, starting at the marble facade that glimmered in front of him. He squinted as the early morning rays struck his eyes. He was looking more fit calm, confident, and poised than the entrepreneur had ever observed. Me too, agreed the billionaire with a note of melancholy in his voice. Seeing the Taj Mahal isn't just an exercise of the intellect, it's also resurrections of the spirit. It wakes even the numbest persons up to what we, as a human creatures, are capable of producing. But to continue, once the Maharaja set his bold intention, his workers started the process of translating that lofty visions into a definite reality. Because, as you both now know, ambition without implementation is a ridiculous delusion. You two are now much more fluent in the insight that anything legendary requires generous amounts of industry, artistry, and persistency. Mastery isn't sudden even. It's really is a ceaseless process that may take years of the painstaking craftsmanship, practice, sacrifice, and suffering before the finished projects intensifies to the level that moves the world. This is yet another GCA gargantum competitive advantage. Continued Mr. Riley, to remain loyal to your novel ideas not only during the weeks after you thought up the dream, but over the long months and perhaps extended years in the past deserts of creativity implementation while you endure rejections. Exhausts the stones of the jealous peers, the skepticism of your loved ones, being diverted by other attractive opportunities, and finding your ways through the isolation's winters of self-doubt. This is what separates the also rans from the icons. Anyone can be great for a minute. The spot of icon is sustaining genius grade performance over a lifetime, and that takes unusual grit and practice uncommon in these superficial times, the kind that majority of society today has sadly failed to develop. Know what I mean? The billionaire was animated, energetic, and completely jacked up. He threw an arm into the air and flashed the universal victory sign with two fingers. It seemed he did so just to protect his inspirations and to insulate the fire that had been activated within his heart. Many decades ago, Albert E. N. Gray delivered an address of salespeople in insurance industry. He called the common dominator of success, and it distilled what the author had identified over 30 years of study as the greatest key to fortune in one's business, family, health, financial, and spiritual lives. What was it? Inquired the entrepreneur with acute interest as she sipped her now tepid coffee. Well, offered the billionaire, from my recollection of the pamphlet that was made from the talk and they widely circulated on a top sales professionals, he said. I had been brought up on the popular belief that secret of success is hard work, but I had seen so many people work hard without succeeding that I became convinced hard work was not the real secret. So what was it? Im- implored the artist impatiently. Dude, I'm getting to it. Magnet replied playfully. So Albert Gray said, this common dominator of success is so big, so powerful, and it is, interjected the entrepreneur, equally unable to wait for the answers. Gray explained that the common dominators of success, the secret of success of every man and woman who has ever been successfully, lies in fact that they form a habit of doing things that failure don't like to do. Simple and profound, observed the artist as he ran one hand down one dreadlock. He too sipped some now cold coffee. Top producers make it a habit to do the high value activities that average one don't feel like doing, even when they too don't feel like doing them. The billionaire continued, and by practicing the desired behavior over and over, their self mastery and personal discipline grows, and new routine becomes automated. The artist nodded, then stroked his goatee. He was thinking about his art. I truly have been limiting myself because of my insecurities. He thought, once again, I am so worried about what others will say about my work that I am not creating enough. And Mr. Raleigh right, I am not being patient and building a self-control that doing difficult but valuable things brings. I sort of just to do what I want. Anytime I want. Some days I have some drive and other times I sleep all day. Sometimes I am lazy. Some days I work hard. I am like a cork bobbing in a water. With no steady direction, no real structure, no real discipline, I play video games a lot, sometimes for many hours, and I have this habit of rushing to create paintings that sell fast. When I need some money, instead of slowing down and concentrating all my skills on the one opus that will define the extent of my expertise and turn my whole field on its head by its genius. So the billionaire expounded, returning to his story about the making of the Taj Mahal. For 22 years, not 22 days and not 22 months, 22 years, over 22,000 workers toiled in the scorching Indian sun. Blocking of marble by block of marble carried from the immense distance by over 1,000 elephant, the army of the craftsman steadily erected the structures you are seeing. They faced architectural roadblocks, environmental extremes, and unexpected tragedies along the journey. Yet they were focused, fearless, and relentless, dazzlingly committed to doing whatever it took to get the emperor's gorgeous dream done. Really incredible, said the artist as he surveyed the landmark. A butterfly sailed by, a few raindrops sprinkled on his face, and believe it or not, more doves soared high above the billionaire head. What with all the doves, rainbow, and butterflies that seemed to surrounded you a lot of time? Pressed the entrepreneur as she adjusted the t-shirt she was wearing. It had a quote from Oscar Wilde on on it that seemed to fit newfound awareness of the businesswoman. It read, be yourself, everyone else is already taken. We all have a magic, most of us don't know how to use it, was Baron's brief and mysterious reply. So, getting back to the Taj Mahal after 2 decades, mausoleum, this mausoleum was complete. He remarked in huge tone, and humankind was given one of the greatest products of the poetic audacity it has ever received. I am beyond inspired, confident, and co- confided the entrepreneur. Thank you so much of bringing us here to Agra. I am ever so grateful. The emperor must have really cared for his wife, mused the artist, delivering the penetrating reveals of the wonderfully obvious. He then looked intently at the entrepreneur. Her radiance went far beyond the basics beauty of starlets, models, and women of high glamorous. Hers was a quieter, more profound loveliness, the kind that makes sunrise special and moonbeams enchantings. He thought to himself that his woman's magnetics comes from a place deeper than merely an attractive face. It was a charm born of struggle, an electricity emanating from hurt, an energy emitting through the formidable intellect, and a prettiness formed by her robust resolve to step into a person of true power, wisdom, and love. The Taj Mahal is such a direct metaphor for you cats so consider on the subject of a staying with commitment to a new habit through whatever hardships show up and remaining sincere to your ideal. Not only in the season of comfort but especially when it all gets terrifically difficult, and that's why this morning coaching is so exceedingly important. What you are about to learn will help you implement so much of the philosophies I have shared with you up until now. The spellbinder has carefully developed the models I am about to reveal over many years working with business builders, masterful achievers, and change makers like myself. Today's session isn't so much about why you should embrace the morning ritual of rising before the sun. It's much more about how you can get this routine done. As a lifetime regime, explained the industrialist as he rubbed an Orlov like an magnetic child rubbing a magic lamp. Awesome, said the artist. I need this, the practical ways to make sure I don't stop getting up the 5 a.m. after this adventure ends. Cool indicates Cool indicated the billionaire, then let go. Two burly security guards then led the billionaire, the entrepreneur, and the artist through a private entrance into the complex, usually reserved for heads of state, members of royalty, and others global leaders. Once inside the momentum, which was dark and stealth, the billionaire began his discourse. This is fascinating, riveting, confusing, and exciting period in the lifeline of the world. For those showing up as victims each morning and every day, the future will be very hard, dangerous, and frightening because they won't know what hit them. And they will be absolutely unprotected to deal with the environmental, economic, and social upheaval that is coming. Yet, for the dedicated minority who have inhabituated a battle-proofed morning routine to defend their gifts, cultivated heroic personal restraint, and developed a bulletproof character through the rigorous training of their muscles of self-discipline. The times ahead will be phonetically rich, harmonious, and ultra productive. Those who have armored themselves against the turbulence on its way by installing a world class and carefully granulated morning ritual will actually be in a position to leverage all the messiness into the homogeneous opportunity and transform all the confusion into a supreme sense of clarity, genius, and calmness that always them to win. The millionaire rubbed his turban and then, for some reason unknown to his two students, began to whisper. The first insight I'll offer you here is that your brain is constructed for expansions. Yes, I'll agree those who are stuck in their pro and personal lives and those who are working under a mentality of Kant versus running a psychology of possibility will argue that there's no way they can make the improvement they need to make by wiring in a great habits like being members of the 5M club. They will fight to be death on the reality of why it's impossible for them to accelerate their creativity, productivity, prosperity, performance, and impact. They'll totally try to get you to believe their rationalizations for their unable to magnetize an amazing career and manifest an exquisite private life. They have given away their power to make change for so long. They have come to believe their powerless represents the truth. Neglect your power long enough and you will eventually believe you don't have any. But the reality of their condition is a very difficult story. The fact is that such people, good, well intentioned, talent fulfilled people, have allowed the force of their sovereign self to become corrupted, so they have succumbed to a state of acute positive. Yes, most people are passive instead of active builders of the ambition within them, and then unconsciously they have manufactured a series of excuses about why they can't show up as leaders in their works and capable creators of their lives because they so scared to leave the safety of their stuckness and make very improvements that would bring them so glory. The billionaire stopped to draw in against gulf of air, a ray of golden sunlight pegged into a Taj Mahal. Then he carried on. Science now confirms that our brain can continue to grow throughout our lives. This beautiful phenomenon is called neuroplasticity, and it speaks to fact that human brain, like personal willpower, is a lot more like a muscles than previously understood. It's a plastic in a way. Push it and it will expand. Flex it and it will extend and become more potent for your use in the tallest expression of your most radiant gifts. So you want to make sure you exercise your brain aggressively to make new habit like getting up early your new normal. Neurons that fires together wire together, you know. As you repeat the routine you wish to add your lifestyle, it becomes easier and more familiar. That's a really important point to contemplate and then act on. I've never been aware that we actually have the ability to grow our brain, noted the entrepreneur excitedly. And I guess what you are saying is more we practice a fresh habit, the more our brains will work with us and evolve to make it part of who we are, right? Yup, responded the billionaire. He loved seeing how the two human beings he was mentoring were improving through his sharing. Real leaders always feel great joy when they shine a light on the talent of others. Powerful ideas. He went on with his fingers now on the wall of the wonder of the world. You don't have the brain you want. You have the brain you have earned. Or put it another way, you don't have brain you desire. You have a brain you deserve based on how you have been operating it. Spend your days diverted by your device, tethered to televisions and majority in mindless pursuit, and your brain will be weak and flavely through your mistreatments of it. Just like other muscles, it will atrophy, and this will result in a water cognitions, slower learning, and lower processing power. Your competition will destroy you, and your target will elude you. On the other hand, when you use your brain intelligently by expanding its limits and running it like a titan, it will expand and increase its connectivity, causing important gains in your productivity, performance, and influence. The brain of London taxi driver were studied and areas responsible for a special reasons. The hippocampus was found to be significantly larger in them compared to the brain of the ordinary people. Guess why? Because the complexity of the street system in London, the artist responded confidently. You have got it. Applauded the billionaire. So, just you develop your biceps in a gym by lifting dumbbells or doing push ups. The cavalry in the London flexed their hippocampi as they drove each day. And like I said, given that the brain is a lot more like a muscles, that neuronatocism, neuronatomism, neuroanatomist previously understood that part of it grew stronger. See how powerful we human beings are. This is a super example of neuroplasticity we all have at our disposal. The brain can strengthen, sculpted, and optimize if we choose to make it so. When you guys get home, study this phenomenon as well as awesome process of neurogenesis, which describes the brain's natural ability to actually grows. The emerging neuroscience explaining the ability of mastery to every single person's alive today, no matter where they live or how old they are or what they do or how hard their parts have been, is so incredible exciting, the tycoon guessed. Anywho, he added, for now, please just know that the brain has a malleability, malleability and masculinity to it. And what makes the great ones is they truly understand that daily discomfort is the price of enduring success. And that posing ourselves hard builds the kind of brain that generates military grade discipline. It's such a myth that the super producers had easy lives. The billionaire reaches into a pocket, pulled out a sealed envelope, and handed it to the entrepreneur. Please open this and read it for us, which, with such convictions and the passions as you have, a baron instructed politely. Inside, on neatly folded piece of fine stationery, the businesswoman found a following word of illustrious philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. Do not talk about giftedness, inborn talents. One can name great men of all kinds who were very little gifted. They acquired greatness because genius, as we put it, through the quality the lack of which no one who knew what they were would boast of they all possessed. That seriousness of efficient workman was first learned to construct the part properly before it ventures to fashion a great whole. They allowed themselves time for it because they took more pleasures in making the little secondary things well than in the effect of dazzling whole. Flip the page over, please, requested the billionaire as his eyes twinkled in the light entering the Taj Mahal. The entrepreneur read a second quote that had been carefully written with what she guessed was an indigo inked fountain pen. The perhaps was from the English poet William Ernest Henley. Imagine these words infusing deepest and most unsustained part of your soul. It matters not how state the gate, how change with punishments the scroll. I am the mastery of my fate, I am captain of my soul. The master and genius and heroes of civilizations all lives hard lives expanded the billionaires. They trained through, they played through pain. To borrow a term of lot of superstar athletes use these days, they push their potential fiercely. They were ambitious, ceaseless, and ferocious when it came to the complete capitalization of their greatness potencies. The Latin root of the word passions mean to suffer. These women and men suffered for their visions, ideals, and inspirations. They suffered for the increase of their skills and sacrificed for their realizations of their powerness. They endured enormous anguish as they advanced their craft and abandoned their temptations. And I must tell you, these illustrious performers also suffered for a state of the world. Playing a small with your promise demotes our world, because the planet became a poorer place without your greatness in it. Suddenly, the billionaire fell to his knees. He lay flat on the floor and closed his eyes. Folding his arm over his heart, the tycoon then began to snore loudly. "What the heck are you doing now, brother?" asked the artist, appearing both confused and amused. Voluntary discomfort was the speedy reply. "More snoring. I want my teddy bear," he cried, and my jammies. Stone Riley then began to stuck his thumb. "Is unreal," laughed the entrepreneur, clearly entertained by yet another stunt of his maverick industrialist. One could see the billionaire was now smiling, apparently impressed with his comedic skills as well as his unusual ability to make a teaching point. Remaining on the ground, he said, "The single best way to build your willpower is to voluntarily put yourself into conditions of discomfort. The spellbinders call these strengthening scenarios. When I was much younger and my ability to command myself to do what I needed to do when I didn't feel like doing it was much weaker. I'd given into my lesser urges so easily. My self discipline muscle were very feebly because I wasn't exercising them. The spellbinder knew I needed to become a lot stronger so I could install the 5M routine in a way that I stayed with my career. So he had me actively put myself into situation of hardship, and it worked like magic. "What kind of situation?" asked the artist. "Once a week I slept on a floor." "You are serious?" quizzed the entrepreneur. "Really?" "Absolutely," the billionaire confirmed. "And I began taking cold showers every morning. Twice a week I'd fast like so many of the most accomplished women and women of the world have done to capitalize on and manifest their primal power. It's remarkable how much time I had saved during the fasting windows when I wouldn't eat, and striking how clear my thinking would be and how much energy I'd have. Oh, and when I'd be at my loft of Zurich to promote my toughness and grit, I do so much hard winter's training by running in a snow with not only t-shirt and a pair of shorts in. The billionaire stood up. "It's exactly what I have been suggesting since we got to the Taj Mahal. You have the capacity of the world-class self-control. Science confirms it. The real key is to push your brain to develop new neural pathways and to force your willpower muscles to flex and stretch, intentionally working these natural resources up to their highest level. This is how anyone can become so strong, courageous, and undefeatable that no matter what obstacle they face and difficulties they experience, they continue on their quest to meet their glorious goal. They do. You think Navy SEAL and members of the SAS, true willpower warriors, actively expose themselves so much potentially spirit crushing scenarios, all those long runs in the rain with heavy backpackers packs on, crawling through thick mud in the middle of the night, eating brutal food and living in Spartan setting, confronting their fears by performing tests like jumping into the oceans from the cliff, backwards and backwards with blindfolded folds on and enduring exercise involving psychological degradations so they train themselves to transcend what most limit them. Look at bravery and the capacity to do difficult things that are necessary for the fullest expression of your greatness. Isn't a divine blessing? No, at all. It's a voluntary practice. Toughness and a will of iron takes devotion. So I very much suggest you begin to suffocate your demons, slay your dragons, and hug your monsters by doing more demanding things. This is not obscurest routes to masterful achievements and a private life you will ever so proud of at the end. You know, this makes me think of the Iris play, right? George Bernard. Boy, did that dude have a cool beard. The billionaire said awkwardly. Ever seen it? He kept on. I have not, the artist responded. You should. It's gnarly, the Mughal note. He then snapped his fingers 8 times. After this, an unknown bellowed from the somewhere within the mausoleum. The reasonable man adapts himself to world and unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. The voice grew silent. George Bernard saw wrote that in his play Man and Superman, a 4-act drama that he produced in 1903. All I am trying to say is this: when it comes to fulfilling your gifts, talent, admirable ambition, and instinct to change the world in whatever way most resonate with you, never ever be reasonable with yourself. The billionaire posed and then did something his two students had not seen anyone do before. He kissed the area of the flesh between the index finger and thumb of his left hand. You gotta love yourself before you can lift the world. By the way, he muttered with a grin before proceeding with his mentoring. Inspiring, the artist admitted what George Bernard Shaw said. Researcher proves that training yourself so your willpower becomes maximized is one of the crowning achievements of an epic life. The billionaire continued. The Welsh explorer Henry Morton Stanley observed that self-control is a more disciplinable than gunpowder. Definitely inspiring, the entrepreneur echoed. Look, said the entrepreneur, it's such a myth that celebrated athletes and legendary artists and revered statements and stateswomen had more natural willpower than the rest of us. That's just a big lie. What's real, he declared, is that these exceptionalists began as ordinary people and through the relentless practice and constant drilling to wire is excellency daily habits their power of manage themselves against their craving and temptation grew stronger until the culture perceived them as superhuman. Small daily seemingly insignificant improvements when done constantly over time yield staging result commended the artist happily reciting the valuable brain tattoo that he had embraced on his wonder journey. He reached over and grasped the hand of the entrepreneur. That's right, acknowledged the billionaire. What looks to the human eye like invisible and infinitesimal optimization around your willpower, when profound daily, are what make you into a Michelangelo or Da Vinci or a Disney or a Chopin or a Coco Channel or a Roger Bannister or a Pele or a Marcus Aurelius or a Copernicus over extended periods of training. The true genius all started out as ordinary people, but they practiced building up their strength so much and so often that showing up at world class became automated. Here's another brain tattoo the spellbinder taught me. Legendary performers practice being spectacular for so long that they no longer remember how to behave in non-spectacular way. So particularly speaking, where do we start? The entrepreneur asked. Because I know both of us want to lot more self-discipline and to have excellent habits that last a lifetime, especially getting up at 5 a.m. Follow me, instruct the industrialist. Mr. Riley led them down a corridor of monument, past a series of dim rooms, and into a small chamber. In one corner sat a blackboard. The billionaire picked up a piece of chalk and proceeded to draw this diagram. The tiger, the ritual, the reward, the repetition. The trigger, the ritual, the reward, the repetition. The lifetime habit arc. The simple model is based on the latest studies on how habits are formed. He began, your starting point is to create some kind of trigger to embed the early rising ritual into your morning. This could be as simple as having an old school alarm clock next to your bed that goes off at 5 a.m. When we get to Rome, I'll explain why you shouldn't have any technology in your bedroom. Rome. The entrepreneur, the artist exclaimed at the same time. The billionaire ignored them. Once you have got the trigger of your alarm clock in place and next step, as you can see from any diagram, is to run the routine you want to encode. So we just get out of bed, right? Queried entrepreneur. Yup, said the billionaire. It sounds obvious, but jump straight out of bed before your reasoning mind and prefrontal cortex can given you bunch of excuses about why you should go back to sleep. It's in this very moment that by getting out of bed, you build a early rising neural circuit in your brain through the power of neuroplasticity. And remember, brain pathway that fire together, wire together into a potent neural highway. Over time, it's in a very instant when you are faced with staying on the mattress or standing up and starting your morning in great way that you have the chance to make your willpower stronger. It's uncomfortable at the start, I know. All changes is hard at first, messy in the middle and gorgeous at gorgeous at the end. Interrupted the artist, reinforcing another to the spellbinder brain tattoos. Yes, agreed the billionaire. The next step of the four-part pattern to program in a new ritual is to make sure you have preset reward in place. The reward is what kick a start and then grows your drive to get the new habit done. Always use power of reward for advancement of your triumphs. So let's assume you do what you know to be right instead of following what's easy and sprint out of bed fast. As soon as the alarm goes off, I'll explain exactly what to do doing during your victory hours from 5 to 6 a.m. When I walk you through the 2020 formula, man, are you ever going to teach it to us? The artist interrupted again. He wasn't being rude. If you were in that chamber with those three, you'd sense that he only spoke that. Why? Because he was so interested in the 5M method, that's all. The 2020 formula is subject of tomorrow morning coaching sessions. The billionaire offered with the utmost grace. For now, let's stay centered on the third step. You need to set up a reward. That's what the eminent researcher on willpower tell us is essentials to create behavior that stick. Your reward for rising with sun could be a nice piece of dark chocolate for dessert at lunch. It could be taking a nap later in a day's another favor rate of the planet, greatness creative. It could be treating yourself to book you have been wanting to buy for your library. You can figure out what feels right for you. Go it, said the entrepreneur. Said she was now sure that all this information would significantly elevate her business game and dramatically uplift her mindset, heart set, health set, and soul set, leading her into a truly excellent life. Good. That brings us to the final point in a pattern, said the billionaire, as he touched the piece of chalk to word repetition on blackboard in that room of Taj Mahal. The way of annihilate the weakness impulse of your lower self and the free yourself of the cravings and temptations that are blocking your best is through ceaseless repetition of new behavior you are working hard to install. The word that comes to mind here is instead fast. We steadfast in your commitment of remaining a lifelong member of the 5M Club. We absolutely dedicated and excuseless in a following through on his life altering self promise. Each time you follow through, you will deepen the relationship with your sovereign self. Each time you rise at dawn, you will purify your character, fortify your willpower, and magnify the fires of your soul. I guess what I am trying to help you two wonderful people appreciate is that real measure of your majesty is shown not in your utter momentum before an audience, but in a soft and early light of lonely practice. You became undefeatable in a world by what you do when no one was watching. I have reached fair amount about championship sports team, said the entrepreneur. Really helped me build super up squad at my company. And if there's one things I have learned, it's that what took the winning team to victory was less how they played in last second of close final games and more how disciplined they were at practice. Exactly, agreed the billionaire. The billionaire moves in last second of the championship match were automatic. The result of tireless hours of repetition of those splendid moves during training. Cool. Point the artist through of the himself. I want to get to one remaining learning model this morning before I let you cats go. One that will make it incredibly clear how installing a habit follows a 66 days process. Yet before I do, I did want to share a few more fast practical points on self-discipline. Great. The artist replied, today's lesson has been big for big for me. I knew it helped me beat procrastination, and I am sure it will improve the quality of my art. And I have already been making progress on calibrating my physical fitness. He has agreed the entrepreneur with a wink. Will, well, just remember that willpower weakness once it gets tired, scientists call the condition ego depletion. See, you wake up each morning with a full battery of self control. That's why I want you to do the activities that are most important to rise of your inner imprises at the time when you capacity is stronger at 5 a.m. Here's the things, as you go through your days, going to meeting, checking messages and performing tasks, your ability to self-regulate decrease, and so does your capabilities to handle temptation and manage weak impulse. The fact that human discipline muscles get tired from all the decision fatigue, explain why so many massively successful people end up doing something foolish that destroys their career. They give in to urge that causes their downfall because they all days long they were making important decisions. By the time it was evening, they had no willpower left in their battery to manage their craving. Super fascinating, remarked the entrepreneur. This explains a lot. So the key is rest and recovery of self-control muscles. Explained the billionaire. Never allow it to get too tired. Your willpower really is weakest when you are most tired. Key awareness to build on here. We make our worst decisions and our lowest decisions when we are exhausted. So don't allow yourself to get exhausted. Period. I have a powerful mentoring sessions on how the best in the world protect priceless assets like their willpower through the loss of personal regeneration planned for you later. Mr. Riley began to cough, a, a concerning throaty cough, not an insignificant one. Oh, he added, regaining his composure. Please also know the research also supports the idea that external order increase your discipline. That's why Steve Jobs made sure the workplace at Next was minimalist and painted all white when he was there. Must lower your self control as well as steal your cognitive bandwidth. Maybe that's why so many so called genius wear a same uniform every day. The artist commented, they want to keep order and structures in their lives, and they understand that each morning we wake up with a limited amount of willpower as well as mental focus. So rather than wasting these valuable gifts by spreading them over many trials choices like what to wear and what to eat, and they automate as the many basic things as possible so they can concentrate their highest power on just a few important activities. Now I am getting how become genius even more if all I did every day was my art and only a handful of other things. I wouldn't suffer from a decision fatigue, as you call it, and that would mean I wouldn't waste so much time in the evening and make so many bad choices as the day ends, like watching stupid TV shows, eating so much junk food, and sipping too much tequila. Okay, declared the billionaire. You folks cleared now know all the changes is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end. The inside should be well on its way to settling in as a default beliefs of your mindset. Now let's deconstruct that powerful brain tattoos on the spellbinder into a potent model which explain the three phases Every habit installation goes through, so you have even more firepower to lock in the regime of rising and down. You will absolutely love what you are about to learn. Promise me you will turn up volume of your listening as we go through this. Then we'll call it a morning. We promise, the entrepreneur and the artist express together. Pinky promise, asked the billionaire, putting out a little finger. Yes, responded the entrepreneur as she locked pinking with her mentor. Yes, agreed the artist as he did the same. Terrific, exhausted the magnet. One of the security guard who had led the three companions into the structure walked in and pulled a chart out of backpack. He shone his flashlight onto it so all could see what had been printed on it. The teaching framework that came into view looked like the habit installation protocol, the 60-day minimum, automatic, automaticity point, days stage 1 destructions, 22 days installation stage 3, 22 days stage 3 integration. On the coding of any new habit, you will move through an installing period of destructions, said Mr. Raleigh as he pointed to the first phase on the diagram. Keep at it and you will definitely move ahead into the second stage of the process, where new neural pathways are formed and the real installation begin. This is the messy middle. Finally, as you stick with your practice of making any fresh routine your normal way of being, you will arrive at the final and wonderful stage, integration. The whole exercise takes approximately 66 days according to research data of University College London. The spellbinder in his teachings call this powerful fact the 66 days minimum, 66 days of training to make a new habit yours. So don't quit after a few days or a few weeks or even a few 2 months. As it relates to becoming a member of the 5M club, sticking with your self promise for a list 66 days, no matter what, do these things and that reminder of your life will be exponentially better. This I promise you from my heart, said the billionaire. See, all changes is hard at first. That's why the spellbinder name stays one destructions. If it wasn't difficult at the start, it wouldn't be real change. It's supposed to be hard because you are rewriting the past pattern of your mind, destroying old ways of operating, and rewiring past programs of your hurt and emotions. Do you know why the space shuttle uses more fuel in the 60 seconds after liftoff than it uses over the entire orbit around the Earth? It needs to overcome the powerful forces of gravity. After it takes off, the artist answered confidently. Exactly, the billionaire confirmed. It requires a large amount of the fuel to overcome those initial force and reach escape velocity. But once it does, momentum kicks in and the craft just goes. The first phase of creating any new habit, the destruction stage, it is precisely like this. You need to overcome your deeply ingrained habits, dominant rituals, and traditional states of performance. You need to rise above your own forces of gravity until your escape velocity kicks in. It is so challenging at the beginning. I'm not going to lie to you. You both have done very well getting up at 5 am over morning you have been with me. But you will hit a wall over these first 22 days while you are in a phase 1. Nothing wrong, just part of habit installations process anyone seeking peak productivity and a richer life must go through. For most people ready to get up before daybreak, each day of first phase in is a hardship. They feel like giving up. They complain that rising early just isn't for them, that they are not built for this routine, and that it's just not worth the pain. My advice is simple: continue at all cost. Persistency sits at the threshold of mastery. The things that feel hardest are also ones that are most valuable. Keep remembering that doing difficult things that are very important was how the highest achievers and greatest heroes of our civilization embraced their powers. Please also remember these rules when faced with a choice. Always choose the one that pushes you and most increases your growth and promotes promotes the unfoldments of your gifts, talent, and personal power. So when you feel like quitting, preserves preservers preserve preserver, you will get to the next stage soon. And understand the negative thought, cranky emotion, and a stronger desire to surrender are a normal part of the process of hardwiring any new regime. The first 22 days are supposed to feel like a mild form of torture. Because stage 1 is all about destructions of old ways of being so that new one can be set up right. Entrepreneur asks, precisely the billionaire confirmed, and just because you couldn't do something because doesn't mean you can't do it now. He added while nodding in an encouraging way. I need a repeat what I said so you absolutely lock it in. If it wasn't hard initially, it wouldn't be real and valuable change. Society has programmed us to think that because it's difficult at first, something bad is happening. That we should stop what we are doing and return to safe house of our former normal. Zero growth and evolutions toward legendary in that mode of operating zero. So true, agreed the entrepreneur. Everyone I knew the repeats of the familiar every day. Okay, maybe not everyone, but definitely most people, same thoughts, same behaviors, and the same moves. The truth is not that they can't change, said Mr. Riley. It's just that they didn't make the commitment to improve and then stay with the process long enough for their neurobiology as well as their psychology, emotionality, and spirituality to work its natural wonder. Everything you now find easy, you once found hard. The billionaire then asked for the security guard flashlight and focused it onto the part of the learning model related to the second stage of routinization. Thank Krishna, he added. See here, all changes is messy in the middle stage. Middle stage 2 is called installation because it's like you are going through an interior revolution of sorts. Former foundations need to be torn down so that much better ones can be put up. This stage will make you feel confused, stressed out, and frustrated. You will feel like quitting even more and dismissing your decisions to join the 5 a.m. club as a terrible one. You will long to go back to staying in your warm bed and counting more sheep. Just know the trust that all is good. Very good, actually, though you can't see it. You are advancing even further in the habituation of making the early rising routine your for the rest of your life. Things are about to get easier. They really are. They are just going through the second stage of the procedures, and it's only feel messy and it is only looks chaotic. The reality is you are growing beautifully and the closing in a whole new grade of performing. In all disorder there is a secret order, said famed psychologist Charles Jang. So when you are wiring in this priceless new morning routine, the entire structure of your brain really is in a feel as you manufactures new neural pathway. Your whole system really is a being restructured. You are honestly in a seriously unfamiliar territory. Sprouting green shoots, going the blue oceans, conquering new territories of self potential and accessing higher universe of human optimizations. Cortisol, the fear of hormone, is elevated at this time, so you will feel scared a lot of time. All that's happening within your brain is consuming huge reserve of energy. So you will be exhausted often at stage 2 of habit installation. The ancient stage seers and philosophers called such a profound personal transformation the dark night of the soul. What was once a caterpillar is messily yet almost magically becoming a butterfly. The majestic road of deep and real change as the journey evolving a series of little deaths. The old you must die so better you can be reborn. The spellbinder says that for you to upgrade to greatness, you must undergo an inhalation of your weakness. Dramatic word, I'll admit, but the Guru speak truthfully in a stage 2. Sometimes you might even feel like everything falling apart, but actually all is coming together. Even better, your human perception is often not reality. As you have learned, it's just you seeing the world through a lens. The fact is that illusion of safety is always so much more deadly than your rise toward personal mastery. Stay in stage 2 of process for around 22 days and just know the uncomfortable reward are coming. I love all that you just said, interjected the artist. I'll install the early rising ritual for the rest of my life, even if it kills me trying. Even if it kills me trying. He, pro- he promised to himself. The billionaire grew quiet. I have been through this setting and transforming process many times each time I go for a new habit or a great skill or even a more evolved core belief. I go into this death and rebirth cycle, and I need to tell you that it does feel like the end. You will be so scared at times, tired a lot for a while, and confused by what dark voice of your ego will say. You will even feel like you are going crazy sometimes. That's why so few people do this work and why so few reach that rare air of epic performance and make a worldwide impact on the culture. It's a sport only for outright warriors. It requires enormous courage, immense convictions, and uncommon strength of character. You have all this in you. Just resolve to apply it. As I said, with the practice and patience, it'll all get easier and eventually automatic. Okay, cats, spoke the billionaire as he clapped his hands together like an encouraging football coach. I know you are getting this beautifully, so let's keep jamming. Stick with the process of new habit installations through the breakdown of old pattern, which happens in a stage 1. Then continue through the formation of new circuitry in your brain, which happens through neuroplasticity, and the manufacturing of better pathway in your emotional core in stage 2. Do that and you will most certainly reach stage 3, the final part of your ascensions. Integration. Remember, all change is hard at first, messy in middle, and gorgeous at the end. Billionaire paused, smiled gently, and then touched his toe. He kissed the flesh between his finger again. Then he went on. The final stage is when it all comes together. He, ex- he explained, and you get to experience the benefit of your fantastic commitments being a lifetime member of the 5M Club. You are nearing the end of roughly 66-day period required for a human brain and being to encode a routine. So now it's success time. You have advanced through the initial disruption. You have made it through the dangerousness and chaos of the middle phase. And you have come out the other side is stronger, more skilled, and with great intimacy of your most supreme and invincible nature. You are now next version of your greatest self able to bring on a bigger game. Influence more people by the glorious power of your example and be a more useful to the world because you have owned more of your primal heroism. All your hard work, sacrifice, and suffering, careful consistency, and brilliant bravery come together in this stage as the new habit you have been working on integrates at a psychological, emotional, physical, and spiritual level and becomes your new normal. Normal, wondered the artist, life gets easy. The billionaire suddenly fell to the marble floor of the Taj Mahal and started doing more push ups. He looked sort of like a boxer training for the main event. What the heck are you doing now? Questioned the entrepreneur amused. He's crazier than I ever imagined. She thought, I do love him. The primary purpose of life is growth. To be continuously pushing yourself to materialize more of your potential. My daily push ups not only keep me in a state of continual optimizations toward world class, it's also a tremendous way to keep myself feeling young, happy, and alive. Boredom kills the human spirit. The industrialist stood up. For the A player, the top of one mountain is the bottom of the next. The installation of one great new habit brings on the outstanding opportunity to begin the next. I do 1000 push-ups a day, superb exercise. One of the best, so simple, keeps me lean and chiseled, good for my core. And the exercise also recruit my glutes. The billionaire said with an awkward expression. But doing the thousands push-up a day is also a ritual remind me to keep going, keep expanding, keep evaluating my mindset, heart set, health set, and soul set, and escalating my rise to my best. Honestly, I am not afraid of failing. That's just a part of learning to fly. I'm just horrified of not growing. Got you? The entrepreneur said, scribbling practically on her notepad. The billionaire then moved an index finger across the teaching model and rested it at the area that said the automaticity point. The existing fact is that once you arrive at the automaticity point, you no longer need any willpower to get up at 5 am. The new regime implementation into your brain human operation system is complete. Awakening before dawn becomes second nature and easy. Here's the real gift from your excellence and devotions over the 66 or so days. The willpower you were using to lay down the early rising habit is now freed up for another world class behavior. So you have the chance to grow even more productive, purposeful, prosperous, joyful, and successful. This is the hidden secret of all pro athletes. For example, it's not that they have more self discipline than the average person. It's just that they capitalized on what impulse control they had for a 66 days until the game winning routine got installed. After that, they direct their willpower to something else that would improve their expertise. Another practice that would help them lead their field and achieve victory. One habit installations after another habit installation is how the pro plays. Over time, their winning behaviors become automated, systemized, institutionalized. Absolutely no effort was required to run them once they got hardwired. And these superstars practice their habit of victory so often. They have arrived at a place where they forgot how to not do them. They got to point where it was easiest to run them than not to run them right. Commented, commented the entrepreneur. Absolutely correct, responded the billionaire. The artist was excited, so valuable to me personally and to my work as a painter. And I so completely understand this process. Each of three stages, destruction, installation, and integrations, take about 22 days, right? And at around the 66-day mark, it locks in as an automatic routine. That's the automaticity point, because habit takes around 9 weeks to implement. Don't stop getting up at 5 a.m. after weeks. Don't give up when it gets messy in the middle of the process. Stay relentless through the entire exercise, through all its trial and challenges, just like Shah did, as he and his workers constructed the Taj Mahal, building it into one of the wonders of the world. Awesome takes patience, and genius takes time. Stay true in your dedications to craving out an hour for yourself as the sun rises, and while the majority sleeps, to develop your four interior empire that will set you up to realize all outer ones that your big herds long to actualize. Do not neglect the call on you to deploy your fullest talent, magnify your spectacular strength, multiply your happiness, and discover a paradise of peace within you that no outer event can ever reduce. This, my friends, is how you become undefeatable, unbreakable, and a true master of your domain, as well as a wonder of the world in your own unique way. Love it? Beamed the entrepreneur. Bravo. Totally helpful. Explain why so people have a habits necessary to achieve mastery. They just don't stay with their initial commitment long enough for it to work. They could, but they don't. Yep, agreed the billionaire. That's why information, educations, learning, and growing are so vitally important. The majority just don't know this life changing model and the practical insight that I have revealed to you around it. And because they don't know, they can't apply. And knowledge unimplemented leaves potential undercapitalized. We are all built for triumph in whatever way we choose to define it. Sadly, most of us have never been schooled in the philosophy and methodology that the spellbinder taught to me. The same teaching I am now paying forward to you. You just need to make sure you tell as many people as possible about the spellbinder work. Please, this way we can help people leave the darkness of apathy, mediocrity, and scarcity and find their inherent power to do astonishing things with the rest of their lives. God, we need to make this world a better, healthier, safer, and more loving place. For sure, the entrepreneur and the artist promised together. The entrepreneur then stopped to take in the unforgettable nature of the scene that evolved her. She was standing next to the man she'd unexpectedly fallen in love with over a bizarre, beautiful, and marvelous adventure. She was standing inside one of the seven wonders of the world, located in India, a nation she'd always longed to visit for the breathtaking sight exotic delights, and the country extraordinarily specialized citizen. She paused to consider what had unfolded back in her usual world. The manipulations, the thievery, the disloyalties, and the treachery. In that moment, she laughed. Not some forced laugh that so many of us here at a business meeting where good people in a quiet fear wear social mask in an effort to fit in, appear powerful and look cool. No, this was a palpable joy of person who just discovered some of the true treasures of the life wisely lived. The entrepreneur in that instant realized how blessed she was. She takes over attempt would resolve itself since life always has a way of working things out for the best. Sure, she had learned not to repress the natural feelings of the anger, disappointment, and sometimes sadness that were arising within her from the time to time when she think about the situations. That was just her being human and a real, even brave, not weak. Yet she also now understood there were things more important than wealth, acclaim, and fame, and that many financially rich people are actually desperately poor. Nothing as valuable as my happiness, nothing as priceless as my peace of mind. The businesswoman thought. She found love. She was still in excellent health. She had so many things to be grateful for. Two eyes to see the spellbinder of this wonderful world, two legs to explore it all, food for her table each night at the time when billions have empty bellies, and a roof over her head for ample shelter. She had wise book to read in her library, work that fed her creativity, and as the billionaire said so often, an opportunity to achieve outright mastery not only to benefit herself but also in service of society. And so inside that majestic mausoleum that has electrified the inspiration of so many visitors from across the earth, and as the sun rose into the abundant Indian sky, the entrepreneur found it in her heart to do something we all need to do more of. She forgave. She let go of her hostility toward her investor. She released her restlessness of her director, and she let go of every single one of her witty disappointments. Life is too short to take things too seriously, and at the end of her life, what would matter most would not be whether those ventures capitalists had ownership of her enterprise, but who she became as a human being and the quality of the craft she produced, and how many people she helped, and how much she loved, and how well she lived. The billionaire was right. Every human being does the best they can do based on the level of consciousness they are currently at, on the grade of true power they can command. And if her investors had known better, they would have done better. These people generated pain and suffering from her because at a deep and subconscious level they are in pain. And because they are suffering, those who hurt others silently loathe themselves. Yes, this sort of higher way of seeing things is not so common in our civilizations. But maybe that's why our world is filled with so many wars, so much danger, and so much hatred. Just maybe she considered these corporate bandits were her teachers, sent by life's better nature to push her to the edge so she would reach such a place of dis, disearth, disearthenment and despair that she'd have to change and learn to soar. Just maybe all she'd experienced was As the billionaire taught precious preparation for who she needed to become or fulfill the potential of her most luminous gift and realize the promise of her most high destiny in a way that benefits humanity. And perhaps it's when we face losing everything that we come to know our grandest selves. This strange, quirky, and the most genuine mentor in front of her. Mr. Stone Riley was pouring his heart out, explaining how the simple yet not initially easy daily discipline of joining the 5M Club could and indeed would transform the productivity, prosperity, and well being of any person who applied the method. He'd kept each of the lofty vows he had made at their bizarre first encounter. At the Spellbinder Measuring Conference, he'd shown himself to be a titan not only of industry but also of integrity and decency. We need more of this kind, she taught. Women and men who are pure leaders, people who influence not through the strength of large title and by the threat of big position but by the power of their character, the nobility of their expertise, the compassion in their hearts, and by their unusual dedications to leaving everyone they meet better than any they found them. Leaders run less by the selfish addictions of the ego and more by the selfless dictates of our great wisdom. The entrepreneur remembered the word of the poet Maya Angelou's. My wish for you is that you continue. Continue to be you are an astonishing a mean world with your acts of kindness. The instruction of Mother Teresa also entered the mind of the entrepreneur in that instant. If everyone would only clean their own doorstep, the whole world would be clean. And so, on that very special early morning inside one of the splendid monuments of the world, she not only forgave, she made a pact with herself, understanding as never before that optimizing one's self is the best way to improve the state of the world, and that developing the genius within was the fastest way to uplift her relationship with everything externally. The entrepreneur forced an agreement. She made herself a promise not only to never again consider taking her own life. She also placed that every days for the remainder of her days. She rised at 5 a.m. and gave herself the gift that victory hours free from all trivial diversions, unimportant stimulations, and unnecessary complications so that she could continue calibrating her mindset, purifying her heart set, fortifying her health set, and escalating her soul set. She would demand this of herself no matter what excuse and rationalizations the weaker and the scared part of her personality would argue for. Because she deserved to experience her greatness and because she hoped to be one of the heroes that we all are waiting for. Anywho, the billionaire shouted and inappropriately loudly three final and ultra practical tactics to help you lock in a new habit. I have spent a lot of time on this subject because it's so absolutely essential to your success. I'll quickly walk you through three techniques that research confirm will help the 5M Club morning routine stick. Then we are out of here. He pulled out flashlight and focusing its rays on ceiling of chamber. The following brain tattoos slowly appeared. 1. To make a habit last, never install it alone. Second, the teachers learn the most. Third, when you most feel like quitting is the time you must continue advancing. The billionaire smiled again. Pretty simple instructions, right? Profoundly simple because they are simply profound. The first point will remind you that ritual run deepest when performed in a group. That's why being a member of 5M Club is so potent. You are not installing this morning routine alone. We are all in this together. And my sincere wish is that when you cats get home, you bring as many people as you can. People who are ready to rise early so they can do world class work and craft phenomenal lives into the club. Support groups have long been a proven way to make improvements that last. So leverage this concept brilliantly, please. The billionaire coughed. Then he rubbed his chest as if he were in pain. He pretended no one noticed and advanced the dialogue. The second point will remind you to actually teach the philosophy and methodology you have been learning from me. As you do so, your own understanding of the material will deepen even more superbly. In many ways, educating others on all I have said will be a gift you provide to yourself. I've never looked at it that way, observed the entrepreneur. In truth, inform the billionaires. And the final line you see on this ceiling is most important. Remember that persistence is necessary for all form of mastery. In that moment, you feel you can't go further lies as enormous opportunity to forge an entire new level of willpower. When you feel you cannot continue progress a little longer, your self discipline muscles will be amplified considerably and the degree of your self respect will increase vastly. And a few things are as essential to exponential productivity, leading you field and the creations of life you adore as rising appreciations you have for yourself. Stunningly and without any clue about what was coming. And billionaire flipped over and held a headstand. With eyes closed, he recited a phrase from Gerald Descais and writer and philosophers that went like this. Any solid achievement must of necessity takes years of humbles apprenticeships and stranglement from most of society. You two amazing humans deserve to materialize your best selves and realize epic achievements. The billionaire said as he returned to earth, do not betray the power that sleep within you by staying too late in soft bed that keeps you sedated, sedated. The great men and women of the world became so not because they launched glamorously under the cover, but because they set sublime ambitions that they then proceeded to do, even as the majority call them crazy. World class takes time and commitment and sacrifice and patience. Like the Taj Mahal shows us, and heroism never occurs in a single season. In quote, the 5M habit, stay with the process indefinitely and move ahead when you most feel like stopping. Doing so will make you a legend and seal your fate as someone who is worthy of the worldwide influence. Stone Riley then stood up, hugged these two students, and disappeared down a marble passageway. Now the chapter has been ended now. We'll come again with a next chapter. Thank you.